Hey guys and gals, this is Kevin Purcell with Theotek News Podcast. This is our bi-weekly time to discuss all things that have to do with God and technology, hence the name Theotek. We are here to talk about Bible technology, church technology, and of course general tech as it relates to the kingdom of God and building that. And tonight we're just here, just the two of us. My good buddy Antoine Wright, who's just down the road from me in Big Charlotte, the head of Mobile Ministry Magazine and all good things. And I'm, of course, Kevin Purcell. I am the pastor of High Peak Baptist Church and write for Christian Computing Magazine, among other things. And so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. How are you doing tonight, Antoine?
A little tired, but not too bad. I've been up since about 5:15, so I've done some work in Greensboro and back in Charlotte and did some more work, and I'm tired.
I hear you. I understand. After a long day like this, it's easy to find your battery running down a little bit. But maybe we can recharge with a lively conversation about all things tech tonight. Tonight's kind of, we were talking, the fact that we don't have La Rosa with us tonight. He just couldn't be with us, and probably due to my failure to get things going early enough. Wes Allen, who was here with us 2 weeks ago, and we decided we'd like to make him a regular. Well, we decided to make him a regular, and then he didn't show up, but that's probably my fault, not his. But hopefully he'll be back in 2 weeks. And let me just mention a couple of guests that we're going to have in a couple of weeks. One of those is Aaron Lynn. He's a developer and used to work with Word Search and also Logos and I think other things. And then he's got some big things coming, which I won't share because it's not my business to do so, but he'll hopefully be joining us in a couple of weeks, so it'll be nice to have some more Bible tech people on. And then also, possibly either a month or 2 weeks, we'll have Steve Hewitt, who is the editor of Christian Computing Magazine, with us, and I'm really looking forward to hearing from him. He's kind of the guy who got me started in writing about technology. Now it's, wow, probably more than 12 years ago. That's amazing to maybe 10.
A long time.
Yeah, it seems like a long time. So half of my ministry time, I've been a pastor for over 20 years now, and so half of that time I've also been writing about Bible and technology and things like that. So as we said, though, tonight we don't have a whole lot of big news, so this might be a short podcast, and we'll just kind of jump in. Antoine, you said you had a few things in the hopper that you might like to share, so go ahead.
Yeah, definitely. Number one on the list, because I'd be remiss if I don't do this. Alliance, along with Azusa Pacific.
Say that again. You kind of
University.
Cut out for a second.
They run.
I think Antoine's having some connection issues on his.
No internet.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out on us. A little bit of a lag there also. And then he's frozen.
The Christian Leadership Alliance.
Maybe we're
along with. All right. The Christian Leadership Alliance, along with Azusa Pacific.
And he's gone, and I'm here alone now, folks. Well, maybe we're sort of destined to not have a whole lot going on here tonight. I do want to share something I'm excited about, and that is that thanks to my position with GottaBeMobile.com, I'm going to be able to get some interesting things in for review, and have had some interesting things in for review. And one was the Samsung Galaxy S tablet that I showed you in the camera last week, or 2 weeks ago rather, and finally published my review over at GottaBeMobile.com, and you can look that up. That was interesting. That's a great little tablet. Samsung's sort of struggling right now, but their sales figures apparently are down and that kind of thing. But I think that's a great tablet, and you can probably enjoy it and get a lot of good Bible study on it. The screen's great. It'd be awesome for reading Bible and doing Bible study on, and so that's pretty exciting. It looks like Antoine's back. Maybe. Well, let me share the other thing I was talking about. I just found out that I'm...
Yeah, had a little modem issue right there. Was acting up.
Yeah.
I heard you talking about Samsung, their woes and their good tablets.
Okay, yeah, I was just sort of doing a filler while you were getting reconnected, telling about my review that I did of the Samsung Galaxy Tab S8.4. That's a great little tablet. I don't know if you've had a chance to get your hands on that, maybe look at it at a Best Buy or something, but that's an awesome tablet. And if I wanted to get let's see, fourth or fifth tablet now. Anyway, I'd be picking one up because that thing is great. If they come out with a Note version,
wow.
Yeah, if they come out with a Note version of that in the fall, I will be selling something I've got right now. I don't know what, but I'll pick one up because it's just an awesome device. Anyway, go ahead. Tell us about your mobile ministry conference that you were trying to share with before you cut in and out on us.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm sorry. So, the first thing I was going to talk about is I'm teaching a class, an online class, as part of the Christian Leadership Alliance and Azusa Pacific University on September the 8th. My class is actually going to be called Creating a Mobile Ministry, where we will be actually going through what it means to create a mobile ministry, what a mobile ministry is, and literally either contribute to our current ministry or actually build a mobile-powered ministry, which should be a lot of fun. That class goes for about 8 to 10 weeks, and so you can sign up at the Christian Leadership Alliance website, not for just that class, but they also have other Christian leadership classes that they will be offering throughout the fall. And one of the bonuses is if you sign up 3 or 4 people, then you can get like 6 people into the classes, and you don't have to sign all of the persons up for all of the classes. You can pick and choose and have 4 people taking 4 different classes, and then have a 5th person come in and take a class. So it's really neat, really, really neat stuff there. Number 2, I'm walking around because that seems to be making my connection good. Number 2 would be April of next year, the 15th through the 18th, or the 16th through the 18th, in Holland, in the Netherlands. The Eurasia Media Consultation is actually going to be having their yearly conference, and so this is going to be the first time that conference has been in Europe in a number of years. A lot of churches, a lot of parachurches, a lot of missions organizations who are really, really into mobile technology, video production, storyboarding. Looks like Kevin's got up online right now the Christian Leadership Alliance site, which is cool. Happening at that conference in April. And then immediately after that conference in the same location, the Mobile Ministry Forum is actually going to be having a conference, a 2-day conference, their yearly Mobile Ministry Consultation. That's going to be going on. There's some more information about that to come. The location and all those good fun details are on the way. So those are the 2 pieces of news that I definitely had to bring. And like I said, the Christian Leadership Alliance course, for those of you who are in organizations and you're really trying to get up to speed with mobile and its effects and its impacts with your ministry, I'm biased, and only because I've contributed to 2 mobile ministry courses. This is probably the most comprehensive of those 2. Definitely check it out. And if I can get enough people this semester, we'll actually have the class. So please do definitely have that. So those are my notes. Those are my 2 notes.
So it's one of those kind of situations where you recruit the students, and if you recruit enough, you get to actually teach the class. Is that? I've done a couple of those, and that's a fun way to do things. Motivates you to get it going, I guess.
Well, it's I don't have to do the recruiting. I had to build the lesson, and It was about 2 years ago that they approached me to go ahead and build that course out. And what's been interesting over the course of 2 years, I've also been involved with building out a class that's done by the Mobile Ministry Forum. And so, if you will, I've almost been working against myself in doing this. And so it's really building classes, but not going for the students. So trying not to make sure sufficient content, sufficient relevancy for their respective audiences. It's fun, but it's hard.
Talking about, using mobile in something like teaching, I mean, I do that like every week with my preaching, and of course I'm always got my tablet or my phone around, and I'm or a notebook computer, and I'm always studying. Like today, I was away from the home in my office all day. I wasn't home hardly even, a couple hours in the morning, and then got home really late tonight. That's kind of why we got a late start tonight. But I was productive in a lot of that downtime because of Bible software on my tablet or on my phone. And then, of course, getting to use it actually in the teaching. I take my tablet over to the church and screen share to either the Chromebook or the Chromecast if I'm using my Android tablet, the Apple TV if I'm using my iPad, or to a Screen Beam receiver if I'm using my Surface Pro. Hey, talk to me about what do you do with mobile in, you're going to teach these classes. What do you do with mobile to prepare it and also to present?
Well, one of the things that I guess if you can almost argue that in some respects I try to pioneer is the idea that the classes have to be able to happen anywhere. So whether or not the requirement is that I need to be on a forum and interact with students, or I need to be inside of have a PowerPoint deck of some site with some interactive features. I do my best to make sure that those are items that I can administer while I'm moving around. More often than not, my friends from the Mobile Ministry Forum can certainly to attest to this. I'm on a whole lot of conference calls where I'm driving from one place to the other. Being able to quickly access information, sticking items maybe in Evernote so that I can quickly pull some items up on a whim. I am a very, 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 very big proponent of meeting requests and using calendars. I've got 2 Google calendars, 2 Office 365 calendars, 1 personal calendar, and like 12 subsections of all of those. I think it's very important that we do our best to make sure that the information connects to what matters. For the upcoming sermon that I'll be doing on this Sunday, for example, sermon notes will be in Evernote, so that the congregants and those who may want to log into Evernote, or they can just get the link to the Evernote and download those items. So it's that my notes are actually built. I actually did my research with it, with the intent of it being shared first from a mobile device. I format it so that I can share it from my phone very easily, but then secondly, so that I can present it from that mobile device. So I try to be pretty mobile first or interactive first when it comes to making sure that content meets you where you are. It's not just you go to the content, but the content where you are.
Well, cool. All right. Yeah, I think one of the interesting things I haven't really delved into a whole lot is what you're talking about, sharing the notes that you've got because of mobile. And the closest thing I've gotten to that is using the the YouVersion Bible app they have, where you can set up your sermon and put the links to the scripture reference and put in some notes, and maybe if you show a video, you can put a link if it's up on YouTube or something like that. And I've done that. but I'm finding that the church that I'm at, there's just not a lot of people who take advantage of that, and um, so it's hard to get motivated to continue it when you know that no one's really looking at it. Very rarely.
It's interesting. Most people don't take advantage of. Well, it's interesting. You have to almost give people a reason to look at it differently. When I first started doing my interactive presentation decks um, made people log into my phone, whiteboard what the IP address is to my phone and the password to log in, and then I would tell them, okay, I'm not going to present it behind me, but I want you to have it on your hand in front of you, and you follow along with me. It drives the point home that the things that we have in our mobiles are not just meant for us to consume or just to view and consume, but there really should be an interactive component. I mean, I grew up with choose your own adventure books, and so I really think that when it comes to mobile, and especially when we have to teach something, that we should really take advantage of people's give them some breadcrumbs along the way. Whether that's stopping a sermon and saying, okay, everybody open up your YouVersion, and go find and bookmark these scriptures, and your exercise is to share that with somebody next week. I mean, we as teachers, we kind of have the ability with this mobile tech to instigate people to do things a little bit differently than they're used to. Just a little bit.
Yeah, I hear you. That's it. It's like some people will never get there unless we have the carrot. Hey, come. There's something cool over here. But then again, there's the critical mass. It's like
right.
If we only have 2 or 3 people interested. The rest of them are going to would you quit talking about that stuff? I'm never going to do that. But then there's those 2 or 3 that are like, this is awesome. Would you do more? And so how do you get that? I guess depending on the size of your congregation, if it's enough people that maybe they'll get
it. It could, yeah. My old friend of mine, a guy who used to write for Mobile Ministry Magazine, he said something to me right along those lines. He said it's definitely been at least 8 years ago. Man, Mobile Ministry Magazine will be 10 years old this year. Wow. Wow. And he said, Antoine, technology is only relevant when it's personal. And I tell you, man, when Jay said that, it just stuck. It stuck. And it truly does mean, though, everybody's not going to get it. Everybody is not going to understand why Facebook matters if you're talking to a slew of Indonesians.
And he's frozen. Hopefully we'll get him back here shortly. I think what Antoine's saying there is right, that it's very personal, and that you get that when you just talk to your friends who have one of them has an Android phone and the other one has an iPhone, and those are both great platforms with incredible tools, incredibly mature now, and with great hardware that's feature rich and looks cool and everything. But one swears the other one's a piece of junk, and that's because it's personal. They've learned how to use it their way. It fits their personality into their lifestyle and that kind of thing. And so until it becomes personal to somebody, they don't get into it. And a lot of problems that we have, I'm a pastor of a traditional church, and a lot of the problems we have in traditional church is that you probably have a higher percentage of older folks, and so those people aren't nearly as likely to jump on the bandwagon of reading their Bible on their cell phone or buying a tablet and carrying it to church with them. for them, the internet is something you do on your computer at home, and then it's Facebook, and that's, to a lot of people, Facebook is the internet, and that's it. Just like back in the old days, AOL was the internet. You dial in, and you've got mail, and that was the internet to people. And now it's, your little notice, someone liked your cat picture, and that's the internet to a lot of people. And so that's what a lot of what we're dealing with. Antoine, while you were broken up, I was running with your point about it being personal, about how for some people, especially in a very traditional setting like mine, where you have a larger percentage of older folks. Now, for my traditional church, well, I've got more young people than most, so it's not quite as challenging. But for some folks, that they don't have anybody under the age of 65 in a lot of their churches, except for that grandchild that grandma forced them to come this week. And for them, their cell phone isn't a thing to read the Bible on; it's a thing to play, Angry Birds or Flappy Bird on or something while the preacher's droning on and on endlessly about something he doesn't care about. But I hear what you're saying, though. It's very personal, and when you get it, when they make that connection, and lights start coming on of what they can do with this stuff, that's when it gets interesting to become interactive and fun between us and them, especially as we're teaching and presenting. Let me just give you one more quick little story. There was a man in my church that on a Wednesday night Bible study, I went through the Old Testament a book a week. So like the first week it was Genesis and then Exodus. And as I got into the middle of the prophets in the Old Testament, that's an area where not a lot of people really know much about the history and the timelines and the maps and that kind of thing. And I got a little bit lazy and quit doing my visuals behind me. And one week he came up to me afterwards. He said, your pictures, I wish I could see your pictures. And of course what he meant was, that timeline that you showed last month really helped me, and the map of the northern kingdom and the southern kingdoms divide there, and which tribes were in which ones, that helped me do that more. And this isn't a technology guy. His wife has a Kindle tablet, and to them that's advanced technology, whereas someone like me, that's the most simple and basic kind of tablet you can own. But you see, it's connecting for them, and so it became personal. He learned from it, and that meant something to him. And so I think that's the motivation of why we do this thing called mobile tech or biblical tech. Yeah, because it brings the Bible alive in a way that I wish I could do all on my own. But I'm not. I'm just a communicator who uses words. But once you add the pictures, my research when I did my D-Min thesis on using multimedia in ministry, in preaching rather, said that when you go from about 10% effectiveness, I'm guessing at the number. I don't remember the exact numbers right off the top of my head, but you go from like 10% to like 25% in using pictures, and then you go to 55% when you use sound. And then it jumps up into the high 80s and 90s if you use smell and touch and taste, So, and that's what I do. That's why I do it, and why I spend, that extra 3 hours or 2 hours of my sermon putting the visuals in it on Sunday morning. I wish I had more time, and I'd do it on Sunday night and Wednesday night every week. Traditional 3 times.
It's funny, man. I mean, like, just preparing for this sermon on this Sunday, and it's been a while since I've preached, so I have the luxury of taking my time to prepare a sermon for a change. The really neat thing is how I've had to go through this whole, okay, how is this going to be relevant? How are people going to be able to take some of these points home? Who is my audience, and what is it that they're going to receive? I know, there's some things that I can do with the technology that can make it wowee, but then there has to be a point where the word starts to transform them, where the thing that's taught really kind of sticks in there. And I think that's our biggest challenge when it comes to technology and theology, is getting away, well, I don't want to say getting away, but maturing past the shiny stuff, the thing that makes people excited. I think if we do that, it's good. It's good. But that's the hard part, because a pastor has to be a technologist now and has to be a sounds person. And They have to be an astute teacher, and they have to be okay with congregants figuring out if they're wrong faster than they can correct themselves. It's there's a whole lot more in that.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, moving in a slightly different direction, one of the things I just thought of that I wanted to talk a little bit about is general technology, not necessarily related just to biblical or church technology, and that is the area of customer service. Have you ever had bad experience with customer service, Antoine?
Probably. I'll be honest with you. I don't really remember. I have a very weird rule about customer service. If I need it, it's probably because your product wasn't good enough to begin with.
Well, that may be so. I don't know. I don't know if I agree 100% because there's always even if a company has a 0.1% failure rate, there's still that 0.1% that's going to need their customer service.
I know.
Go ahead.
What did I have? I'm trying to think of the last time I had bad customer service.
Well, while you think about it, let me just share my story of the last 2 weeks. Okay, I have contacted customer service. I have contacted Apple. I have contacted Samsung. I've contacted Google. I've contacted Amazon. I've contacted MediaShout. I've contacted Microsoft, all in about 2 weeks' time. In other words, I've been in customer service torture. And the reason I bring it up is I've been trying to think of a way to write this in an article, but I haven't figured it out yet, so I'll just maybe hash it out here and maybe it'll come to mind. The difference between those companies in how they deal with things is night and day. Even that 3 of those I got good customer service with. All right. Apple, I had a lightning strike, and it fried a computer and a whole bunch of media equipment in our church, and it also fried my Apple Airport base station. And so I took it down to the Apple store in Charlotte and walked in the store, and they said, "Do you have an appointment?" And I was like, "Oh, I forgot that you guys want us to have appointments." "No, I don't have an appointment." "All right, well, we've got one available in 15 minutes. Can you wait?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay, I can wait." And so, I'm just shopping around the store, which for a geek like me who enjoys Apple products, that's fun anyway. And so I meet with this person, I put it down, and I say, the 3 router ports on this no longer work, and I wanted to know what you can do for me. That's all I said. Okay. Now, some people might say I was being dishonest and not saying there was a lightning strike, but I was waiting for him to ask. I assumed he would. I assumed he would say, "Did you have a lightning strike in your area?" And I would say, "Yes." And then they'd say, "Sorry, that's not under warranty." And I'd say, "Oh, thanks, I tried." And so he didn't do that. He just said, "Well, let's check it." He took it in the back, and he came back out with a new one and handed it to me and said, "Here you go." Now, that's incredible customer service, okay? First of all, their product failed not because their product was bad, like you said earlier. It failed because nature killed it. And they just said, "Here, you can have a new one." And I've had that experience with Apple on a number of occasions. So that was awesome. Second one.
That's a good one.
Yes, that is a good one. Let me give you another good one, okay? I had an Amazon Kindle Fire HDX, all right? I got it when I got the Amazon Fire TV. I got both of them together as for reviews, all right? And so, this is something I didn't buy in the beginning, and that's cool, but it was the screen reader would not shut up. I go into settings. The screen reader is turned off. I'm like, what's going on here? But it's still reading my book to me. I don't want it to read my book to me. I want to read my book myself. And I'd turn it off and continue reading, and then I'd go out of the book and go to something else, and I'd come back to the book, and it would continue reading the book. So I call them up. Well, this was after I deleted the book, reinstalled it, erased the tablet, sent it back to factory default settings, and then it still did it. So I called them up, and they said, try this, try that. None of that worked. Okay, we'll send you a new one. And about a few days later, I get one in the mail. They say put the old one in the box and send it back. So I get the next one in the mail. Well, I don't know if you know about the Kindle Fire HDX. It has a problem in that about 1 in 4 has this purple fringe along the edge. It's a light bleed problem, and they know about it. And so when it first came out, they were trying to deny it, but now they know. And so I called them back up. And here's the great thing on this Kindle Fire tablet. You don't call. You press a button on the tablet called Mayday. A little square pops up in the corner.
Oh, yeah, the Mayday.
A nice little individual. Yeah. You've seen the commercials, right? They ask you the question. Mm-hmm. They can't see you. I'm laying in my bed half naked doing this, okay? They can't see you. At least I hope they can't. If they did, then, you know, they're seeing some pretty strange things. Anyway, not really that strange. I mean, I'm laying there in my, you know, anyway. Let's not too much detail there. And it works. It's awesome. You don't wait. It's like within a minute you're talking to a person who you can understand. And they went through a few things, and they said, well, you know what, you're right. We see this in the database that this is a problem, so we're going to replace it. So they send me another one. A couple days later, I've got the third one. Send it back. Sadly, this one still has a slight one, but it's not bad, and I'm just like, you know, this one isn't bad. The other one was pretty terrible, and it was quite distracting as you're reading white paper, and 1/3 of each side is purple, but this one you can barely see it, so I'm just going to let it go. So that was really good customer service. Not as good because, you know, there's not an Amazon store down the street that I could walk in and hand it to them and have them give it back to me, a new one. But save that. That's the best customer service you can get. Except,
right.
All right. Here's a third one. Almost as good, but just not quite. My son had a Samsung Galaxy Note 8 tablet. This is the kind, you know, the Note tablet is the one that you can draw on the screen with the little S Pen. Fine-tipped thing. It's got precision. He's a little bit of an artist. He loves drawing, so he loved his tablet. And there's a strip across the top, about 1/3 from the top, actually about an inch from the top of the screen. It wouldn't register a touch. So we call Samsung. I had already erased the tablet, reinstalled software, you know, did everything I knew how to do. You know, they wanted me to go through that step. I said, I already did that. And they said, you're right, it's failed, so send it to us. They sent me a free label to mail it. I sent it to them. And then they had it for a whole week before they finally sent it back with an email saying, we replaced this and this and this. It seemed like they replaced everything but the battery and the case, you know, the plastic case around the back.
Wow.
But they replaced everything else, the screen, the digitizer, the motherboard. I'm like, why didn't you just send a new tablet? But that's not what they did. So, but anyway, you know, if I hadn't just had this experience with Amazon and Apple, I would have been pretty happy with that. But the fact that I was not, actually my son was not able to use this tablet for 12 days because of all the mailing, okay, it's good, but not great customer service. Now, sadly, the fourth one, Media Shout is a good company. They make good software. But here's my thing with them, and with a lot of software, is they treat their customers like they're criminal. And that is with the activation system. Have you ever had to deal with an activation system gone bad on software?
Yeah.
It's pretty annoying. So they have a little program that it's a plug-in to PowerPoint. It works great. I really like it. But unfortunately, it activates. And once it activates, it's activated for that hardware. And, you know, I'm not sure what it's getting, whether it's sometimes they use the, I'm losing terminology here, but the identifier for your modem, what is that called? That's the
MAC address.
The MAC address. Sometimes they use the MAC address. Sometimes there's an identifier that's connected to the processor or whatever, something that you're not likely to replace. So anyway, they know which piece of hardware it is. And um, so I got this new Surface Pro tablet, and I wanted to use that program on that piece of hardware. So I had uninstalled it from the church computer. Uh, I also had tried to install it on my office computer at church. We've got the sanctuary computer where we run our presentations, and then I've got my office one where I do work. I had tried to install it there, but because of this activation and you can only use one computer, it didn't work there. But I uninstalled it from there, and so I send them an email, and they basically tell me, oh, you can install it on up to 3 computers. Well, see, they think I'm talking about their Media Shout, not this PowerPoint plugin. Strike one. So I say, no, I'm talking about this other program, and he sends it back and says, well, you've already activated that on, so you can only install it on one computer. I had already told him that I uninstalled it, so strike two. So finally he realizes, oh, you're talking about something different. I'm not even the support guy for that program, so let me put you over with this guy over here. I'm like, if you just read the email, you'd see what I'm talking about here. I was very clear, very obvious. So I get with another person who's a little bit more helpful, but still, it's the fact that, number one, they treat you like you're a criminal, and number two, they want to help you because they want you to be pleased with their software, but they don't want to help you too much. And so finally what he did is he did help me. It was nice of him to say, now look, because I told him my experience, that what I do, I write, and so sometimes, I don't keep hardware for 3 years. I keep hardware for 3 months or 3 weeks sometimes, or sometimes 3 days, I'll probably keep the Surface Pro for a year or more before I replace it. And they're just not used to that because most Christians, don't do what I do. So they buy a computer and they keep it for 2 or 3 years. And so, I understand I'm a unique circumstance, but good customer service identifies that, puts it in a database and says, Kevin's different, and so we're going to treat him different. He's not a thief. He's just a guy who runs through hardware like some people do, shirts. And so, and so here's what he did. He was nice enough to say, here's what I'll do. We're going to actually give you a site license which allows you to install it up to 10 machines. However, we're also going to put in the database that you install it on this one machine, and once you install it, it's going to trigger it. And if you install it on anything else, we're going to shut it off. And you'll have to call us back. In other words, I can reinstall it on my Surface Pro over and over again. But the minute who knows, something else comes out in 3 months and the company sends me the product and I want to use it the way I use my computer every week, in order to review it, I need to uninstall it from that and then reinstall it over here to do that. So anyway, they kind of did okay for me, and they violated their own individualized rules and stuff like that. But shouldn't the Christian companies be more like the Apple or the Amazon? Don't you think?
Well, a lot of the commentary, the Apple commentary, and some of the Amazon commentary, they speak to culture being different. The Apple culture says we want to design a great product. The Amazon culture says we want to design a great experience to getting you a great product. Whereas other companies, they don't necessarily. It's not like designing a great product is not really their top. It's not their number one goal. Their number one goal is making a profit. And that kind of, it's just it's a small switch, because making a great product, doesn't guarantee you profits. But if you constantly strive to make something great, you won't have those issues. Your customer support, will speak like your product does. Apple's customer support is great because they believe their products are great. And anytime a product doesn't match up with what they believe it was designed for, well, they'd rather get that out in front of you than you have a bad experience. Versus, versus that experience with MediaShout. And that's not saying MediaShout didn't want to design a great product, but the way that software licensing goes and software activation goes, though activation and licensing is directly opposite of great experience.
Right. And that's because they're treating their customers like criminals. Because here's the thing: if I was a criminal,
essentially,
listen, hey, if I was a criminal and I had the skill to crack the software, I bet I could have cracked it and then handed it out to all my friends or sold it to lots of people for half what they sell it for. And I'm never going to do that. In fact, I'll be honest with you. There was a period in my life when I did do that. I not giving it away, but I took it from people. I was one of these. I had my computer loaded with, as they call it, wares, W-A-R-E-Z.
Wares. Yeah, I had wares.
I mean, I had my computer loaded with it, and then I started feeling guilty. I started feeling like, I'm stealing. And so I went and I deleted all the stuff. The ones that I used, I went and bought, and it was expensive because some of it was Adobe, Photoshop and things like that. So I went and paid for it because, hey, look, I said I stole this from them, and so I'm going to make good by giving them their money. Even though I've already got it, I'm going to pay for it. And some of it I just gave up because I couldn't afford to do it with all the software. I had movies. I had tons of movies. I just deleted them all. I had burned DVDs because that's back in the day when most of us didn't have something that could play a digital movie on your TV other than a DVD.
Mm-hmm.
I went and found all those DVDs, chucked them in the trash. And that's what every Christian should do, right? And then they should pay the software makers. And I'm going to do that. I've made a promise and a commitment to myself, to my God, and to those software companies. I'm paying for software. But when they do that to you, honestly, I know there are websites that I could go to today, and I know the sites because I used to go to them about 10 years ago is when I quit doing this. I used to go to these places, and I know right now I could probably go there and download their software for free. And man, I was so tempted to do that because of the way they treated me. But I didn't.
Well, but like you said, it's how we treat it. And there's definitely, I won't even have to dig very far, but when God gave the Israelites rules for how they interact with other people groups as they were walking through the desert, the wilderness, he meant one of the things he would say is that even if I told you to hate them, you still treat them with respect. You still respect, you give honor to anybody that God has allowed to grace the earth. And when it comes to our software and our hardware, you really see that, in customer service. Customer service is the demonstration. It's almost like customer service is the grace from the retail world. It's like the execution of grace from the retail world. Because if good customers, you feel grateful for it. You feel that you were blessed, that you were given mercy, that you were given a good judgment. You feel like you received grace. But bad customer service feels like a curse.
Like you've been punished instead of...
Yeah.
Well, let me put an exclamation point on this, because we're actually coming. We said we maybe have a short one, and we're actually coming up on an hour.
We're at an hour?
Yeah, let me put an exclamation point on this, in that, first of all, I sort of am bad-mouthing MediaShout a little bit. Number one, they do
Yeah, let's not
software.
do that. No.
They do make good software. MediaShout, I've used all, last 2 weeks ago, Wes shared with us, I can't remember the name of it, some open source presentation software. I went and checked it out, and it just, I've got MediaShout. I'm using MediaShout because it's a lot better. I've used SongShow Plus and Pro Presenter and Logos Proclaim. I've used all of those, but I like MediaShout. I guess it's because I'm used to it, but also it works well. We haven't upgraded to their latest version, and I'm less likely to do it now. But it is good software, and this plug-in. It's called MediaShout Bridge for PowerPoint. Is actually really good. If you can't afford MediaShout, then I actually do. Despite all of this, I still recommend go get it. It's really good. and you get access to their Bibles, and you get access to their, if you have a song, what is it called, a Song Select subscription, you can easily download lyrics, and then you can throw stuff in with PowerPoint, and you don't have to run it on your church computer. You can run it on your laptop or your home computer, your office computer, and then once you're finished, you export it, and all that stuff is still there, even if you don't have it installed on the second or third PC. And so it's really good. It doesn't work for Mac. That's sort of a little, come on, guys. But anyway, but I can use it on that Surface. So it is good stuff. And yes, according to their terms of service, they gave me more than they had to. So yes, they were gracious to me. It just, I wouldn't have this taste in my mouth if they had been gracious at the beginning, instead of saying, first of all, not listening to my email, not reading it closely enough, going back and forth with me about a product that they thought I was talking about when I wasn't. And then the end of it sort of giving me the, hey, but if you install it on the wrong place, we're going to shut you down. And I don't know, I wish that they hadn't done that part of it, and I'd feel a whole lot better about it. But sadly, the truth is, you're probably not going to get better from somebody else. But the two things juxtaposed led me to think, it should have been. It should have been. Apple should be the one I'm complaining about right now, because they're clearly not led by Christian people. I don't mean to be disparaging towards Tim Cook and the other guys over there, but you'd see with the things that they find are important other than technology, and they're clearly don't have a Christian worldview. They seem like decent enough people for the average ordinary person, but I don't mean that as judgmental as it sounds. It sounds really bad, doesn't it? But you get the point I'm making. It's not a company who calls themselves Christian. I don't think there is such a thing as a Christian company. Jesus didn't die for corporations. He died for people. And so I don't think you can really call a company Christian. But I think the Christians in the company ought to behave like them. And I can list Christian companies, companies that are led by Christians who act very Christian. The whole thing about the activation, Bible Works, they have activation, and I don't like it, but they've been incredibly helpful to me, knowing my situation. And in fact, they sort of have said, well, look, we know you because you have to call us every few months or so to reactivate because of our activation system. But we're just going to do it for you without any questions because we know you. And that's the right way to handle it if you're going to have to do activation. So, and then sadly, the reason you got to do activation is because I know there's that website that you can go and steal Bible study software. I don't do it anymore, but I did. But I've since bought all that stuff back, so I don't have anything I stole installed in my systems. At least I don't think so. I hope I don't. But if I do, Lord, reveal it to me so I can fix it. Anyway, hey man, it's been fun tonight. I sort of wish that the other guys could have been here, but if they had been here, we probably wouldn't have had the same discussion. So maybe it turned out the way it should have. So, but thanks for joining me tonight.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine.
It's always fun. And hey, next time I run down to Charlotte to the Apple Store, I'm gonna give you a call early, and we can connect and
do that.
Have a sandwich together or something like that. So, all right, brother. Well, I'm going to sign off and say goodbye to you, and thanks for all of you who were willing to put up with us for this hour, both of you. And no, I'm kidding. I hope there's more than that, but maybe not. But again, next week, we talked last week that we kind of are moving over to some new digs at Theotek.com, and we haven't been able to have time to do that and get that going, and so that'll happen sometime, hopefully before the next hangout, and we'll have a little bit more of a community built around this podcast. But until then, please share this and let folks know that it was here, and we would appreciate it. Take care, brother.
Take care, Kevin.
All right.
Blessings all.